All right.
Great.
Mila Jam is iconic for being a singer, dancer, and actress touring internationally in the company of the hit musical Rent, as well as releasing her own hits. She is a fierce activist and role model for the trans community, and she's here with us today to tell us about her journey. So, welcome, Mila. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. I hope y'all are feeling amazing today.
I love that. We actually just watched your music video for Over and Over, and it really like
Oh,
amps me up. It makes me want to just twirl around in slow motion, right?
absolutely.
That's the vibe it gives me. I love it.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you. Makes me want to do all the things over and over.
Exactly, exactly. So you've worked with a lot of people like Laverne Cox and Mark Ronson. Is there somebody that you would like to work with that you haven't yet?
Janet Jackson.
Oh, yes. That would be really awesome. That'd
Yeah.
be
I mean,
cool.
a moment with, Janet. Listen, I love a moment with Lizzo. I think is fabulous. And there are a number of artists that I would love to work with. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I feel like the list has to be endless with that question for sure.
of course. Yeah.
How long have you been doing music?
It's funny, I've been doing music my whole life, right? But I started actually recording music professionally a little over, it's been a while. It's like in like the 2010s. I started like recording music, doing house music and dance music and putting that out. And I did a bunch of singles with a small label that I was with that I'm no longer with at the moment. And after that kind of ran its course, I kind of had a moment of regrouping, and I thought, okay, I need to find some new management. I need to find a new team, and I met my current manager and some producers, and we've been making music together for a few years since that changed. And this time around, the music is much more up my alley. Like it's more me and more the music that I love to create. I mean, I'm a big pop music, connoisseur, and I love soul and R&B, which are my roots and my background. But pop and dance music, is where it's at for me. But it's been a while since I started doing music.
So, how did Rent come about?
That little show that no one's ever heard of, that show changed my life. I did Rent. I remember auditioning for it here in New York, and it was an open call, and I went in going for Angel, and I remember getting called back to be the understudy, but that led to me actually being a swing on the tour. So shout out to all my swing folks. Swing people don't get enough love in this industry because it takes a lot to learn 5 to 6 to 7 different tracks in a show and go on at a minute's notice. So I covered a lot of different people in Rent. And the cool thing about that show is, pretty much every role is interchangeable. There are some really specific roles, but like in terms of gender and expression, anyone almost can play any different role. So I played a lot of different characters when someone was sick, and I toured with Rent throughout all of the U.S. And internationally in Japan and in Canada, and it changed my life. It made me, I think, the artist and the person that I am today. It just opened so many doors for me creatively, and for the family of community that I have in the business. Yeah.
Wow, you can like literally do it all. Did you have like a background in theater? Did you study that in school?
Yeah, so I am a true theater girl. I'm a theater kid. I went to school, like, I went to a theater conservatory, but I grew up doing arts, performing arts, and doing local theater in my community back in Georgia. And I was in all of the acting troupes and the acting groups. It's always been a part of my life. And I was thinking the other day, I was telling someone how I've always been in the arts. It's been my bread and butter. And even when there were times where I wasn't able to sustain myself doing it, it has always been my passion and my calling. and I've always made a way. So that's like a little bit of advice is to like, sometimes you have to do what you need to do in between, but you can always persevere and make a way if this is really something that you love.
Yes, definitely. Great advice. And we have quite a few theater lovers here with us, so I'm sure they'll have some questions for you.
Yeah.
But back to acting, how do you feel about the trans representation as far as acting today? And how would you like to see it change if you would like to see it change?
First of all, I'd love to acknowledge that we are in the building. The girls have arrived. My non-binary NB folk have arrived. And, whether or not we are a commodity or a moment, we're not a trend and we are here to stay, but the opportunities are going to come and go. And in this moment, I think we've got to seize the moment. You got to seize these opportunities, and the doors are open. And where there are no doors open, we have more time now than ever to open our own doors. I am seeing a lot more visibility and representation, which is great, but I don't always feel like the roles are everything that we might want. I think that's shifting. Those roles that, especially as a Black trans woman that started out as just the prostitute on the corner, have slowly evolved into people, humans, women that have more to contribute than our bodies. And I love that my girl Laverne is currently playing, in Inventing Anna, and playing a cis woman that is actually living. She's telling the story of someone's life that's actually living and is not trans. And so that's something that we've always talked about, is being able to be our authentic selves, but play roles that are not just always about transness, and being able to transcend that. And I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. I think it's time. It's about time for sure. So in an interview with The Advocate that you had, you said, "It's vital we see more examples of Black parents who love and support their trans kids." What advice would you give to parents watching this?
I think that time heals pretty much everything. It's, an issue of time. And if you allow yourself to have the time to learn and to see and to embrace and to misunderstand and come back to understanding, it can do wonders for relationships with family and friends. My parents are very supportive. And although I feel lucky that they're supportive, we went through our journey, we went through our hard times of not understanding each other. And there were moments where I cut myself off from them. And I felt like that's something that I had to do as a trans person, is I had to make the choices for myself. So I decided that I needed to move. I needed to go and live my life and start my life. But the connection that I had with my family, that has always been rooted in love, was restored by us having those awkward moments and those awkward conversations, and eventually learning that life is kind of short and we should love our kids and our families and our parents if we have the capacity to do that. And I know that this is not the story for everyone, but for a lot of us out there, our parents just need a little time to learn and to grow. And I'm applauding Mama Jam. Mama Jam is like the queen of loving the community and the friends and the fam and who I am. And she stands up with the best of them. And it's all because she loves me, and I think she sees me as her child first and foremost than anything else. And I think that's the base of it. And Black people loving Black people that are queer is revolutionary and so necessary, because we are a part of that conversation. We struggle with race issues, all of the issues that, going on in the world against our Black community. So why do we want to add to that equation? We should want to open ourselves up to embracing our family that's different.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite things to see at like every Pride event is the Proud Mamas. I think it's like the coolest. Like, one of my good friends, like his mom is at every like gay bar fundraiser. Like, just everybody loves the Proud Mamas for sure. And I think like you're right, it does just take time for people, because like it takes time for us to find out who we are, and then it takes time for our friends and family to understand where we're at.
And I'd like to add to this, loving your child by listening to who they are telling you that they are is not abuse. It is not child abuse to take a note from what's going on in Texas and what's going on in the world with the bills that are being passed and these anti-trans bills that are constantly set up to attack us. First of all, they can never get rid of us. But we have to remember that our love comes from learning about each other and listening to your kids. You know, that's what great parenting is. That's not abusive. I think neglecting your kids and neglecting them for who they tell you they are is abusive. And the steps that you need to take as a parent, you know, can be decided upon you. But I just don't believe that it's abuse to listen to your kids telling you that they're trans.
Yes, finger snaps for that. And I 100% agree. I feel like we're at a place where anything you want to know or you're curious about, you can Google it. Like there's plenty of information out there, plenty of organizations that will explain it to you. So yeah, these legislators should probably make use of Google. So do you have any advice for any young people out there that don't have support at home?
Yes, this is one of those things where we're going to hear a lot of different takes on what life, you know, discovering yourself and what that means for you. You know, I never ran away from home. I did find the first opportunity that I could find to leave home, but that was to start the journey of self-discovery. And I think it starts with the journey of self-discovery. And when you can lock into what you know is where you feel most yourself and most comfortable, and you can sort of dip your toe into the water and step out of the comfort zone, learn ways to support yourself, learn ways to find friends and chosen family that will be there for you when your family may not be there for you. And it's okay to decide that I need to be somewhere else. One of the things I found, you know, super life altering is like when I left home, I was like, I'm never coming back here. You know, you're in that selfish phase and you're just like, I don't want to be with anyone else that doesn't agree with who I am. I go back home now and I see my family and it's so much more fulfilling than it used to be when I was growing up. And it's just the time, you know, that has gone by. So the advice I would say is to really learn that you've got to find people along the way to help you discover where you can be safe, where you can be you, and slowly build the life that you want for yourself, because it really is about you at the end of the day. And you can come back to the people around you and say like, hey, I know who I am and I know what I need for me. And I want to either incorporate you in that or choose to just focus on myself. And I think you have that right.
Definitely. And that's what Camp Lightbulb is all about. We're fortunate that our campers have very loving families that care about them enough to send them to our camp, but also you meet your chosen family at Camp Lightbulb and we become this huge family of support.
That's amazing.
We're here every Saturday just to listen to you if you need to talk, you know? So yeah, that's exactly what Camp Lightbulb is about. And I'm glad that you're able to give us that advice.
I also feel like, just to add this to it, it's good to remember that we as queer people or people in the community, in the LGBTQIA plus community, we're not the only ones who suffer from not being supported. You know, there are a number of things that affect people, and it's not just gender identity. I'm not gonna even list all the things that it could be. So we're not alone in that aspect. And if you're anyone dealing with anything, not being supported by your family because of your weight, or not being supported by your family because of your views or on some topics or issues, that's where we do find our chosen family to, you know, help us thrive and help us grow into, you know, who we want to be.
Well said. Yeah. It makes me so proud to see young people these days, because like, it's not just queer people, you know, supporting queer people, it's everybody is supporting each other. And we saw that with the protests against these legislators, the students walking out, 500
people are waking up.
School.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this new generation they don't have like the filters that were put over our eyes to kind of, you know, differentiate everybody. I think, you know, the new generation's more accepting and caring
Just the
for one
filters on
another.
Snapchat.
Yeah, those are the ones we like.
Yes.
As I mentioned before, you dropped your new single Over and Over. So what's next for Mila Jam?
Ooh, what can I talk about? There's certain things that I may or may not be able to say. I'm really excited about, well, so I just recorded a lot of new music, and you will get that music in some version of a package. So everyone who is listening and following me, please, it's so important to me to continue to listen. There will be more singles and there will be more bodies of work that are coming. But I really I'm here for the long haul and the journey, and I want us to love and learn together. And when we're later down the road with our canes and doing all of the, we're like trying to keep up with the trends. I want to have that relationship of like the catalog of music that I was able to share with you and to tell the stories of the things that I experienced in my life. I'm excited about going on tour. I'm going to be doing some Pride tours this year. I've already been scheduled to be in LA, and I'm going to be in San Diego, and I'm going to be in Chicago and London. So if you want to see me, I'd say talk to the people in the community now about having me come. I would love to see you in person. And I'm also doing a lot of organizational work. I work with Out Leadership, this LGBTQIA organization in business, where we help companies learn how to be more inclusive. And I'm doing conversations. I have a show called Outspoken with Out Leadership. And if you want, you can go to outleadership.com to look us up. But I'm having a good conversation for Trans Day of Visibility with some iconic trans women in the community here in New York. And the last thing that I can think of at the moment that I can sort of talk about is I love working with Broadway Bears. I'm working with Broadway Bears again this year, and we've got some cool stuff cooking and stirring up. And they're actually bringing it back to in person this year. It was virtual for the past 2 years. So as the panini sort of moves in a new direction, I'm excited to be a part of that in some capacity. And so that's going to be coming out. And you also want to be aware of the Discovery Plus channel, because I am a part of this new series called The Book of Queer. And I'm a surprise guest for the season finale.
Yeah, so much exciting stuff. Well, I'm in LA, so I'll see you in LA, wherever you're at.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Yes. So with that being said, we're going to open up the Q&A to our campers. So I hope that they were thinking of some questions. Maybe our theater people have some theater questions. Would anybody
Give me all
like
the questions?
Yeah. Would anybody like to go first? Finn, yeah, go ahead, Finn.
How did you kind of like, what was the first theater production that you did, like while you were in school?
That's a good one. The first theater production I did when I was in school was, I'm trying to think. Oh God, I did so many. One of the earliest ones, okay, well, here's one that I think everyone would really like to hear. I actually did Godspell in school. And at the time I played Jesus. And it was very controversial because I'm Black. And at that time, I was not visibly a female. And it was a journey. And my acting teacher just really believed that I was able to tell the story, which was awesome. But there was a lot of protesting and a lot of backlash for me playing that role, which is a very heavy role and a very important role to a lot of people. One of the other shows, one of my first shows I did too was A Raisin in the Sun. And I also did Annie Warbucks, which was the sequel to Annie, if you didn't know. And the character that was Annie's best friend that she finds when she runs away was a little girl named Christina Grace. But because at that time they could not find a little girl to play the role, they cast me in the role. And so it was a little foreshadowing of my life and my experience, but I got to change that role to fit, who I am. And those are some of my earlier shows that I did. But I did a lot of shows. I did My Fair Lady. I did The Wizard of Oz. I did Aida. I've done Guys and Dolls. The list goes on and on.
All right. Who's got our next question for Mila? Nisha. Go ahead, Nisha. Oh, Nisha, we can't hear you.
I gotta mute my mic.
There we go.
Oh, headset. Throughout your career, who's been your biggest influence?
Throughout my biggest influence, well, she's highly influential to me. Janet Jackson is like one of my greatest influences. I'd say Janet Jackson, and I'd say Whitney Houston, and probably Brandy are some of the icons that I look up to that have always influenced me musically. And you know, my mom is also a big influence of mine because she's always encouraged me to follow my dreams and to stay focused and to never give up, and that, you know, it will happen. So yeah, but I'm a huge Jackson fan, and I love Janet and Michael, and yeah, those are some of my biggest influences.
I feel like that's just like very like feel good, like pop music. Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
you know, it just comes with a heavy price tag of, you know, iconography, and it's something that everyone, as a Black artist, seeing people in my community, you know, reach these heights that most often don't, you know, happen, and to still hold these world records, it's just like, it's so inspirational to me. I was just learning the other day that even Janet Jackson's first tour was the first tour of an artist, a solo female artist, to like legit sell out, like with nothing, like just like that, because everyone was so hungry for what she had to offer. And I hope that happens for me one day.
I think that even today, Janet would sell out like immediately. Like, yeah.
She does, and she would.
Yeah.
We love Janet, and we love manifesting. Someone just said that. That is a very important thing. I love to manifest, and I love to speak the things that we deserve. Absolutely.
You definitely deserve it. Maybe you'll be alongside Janet on the stage.
Absolutely. And I cannot forget Queen Bee. I am a Queen Bee fan. I love Beyonce. Don't get it twisted. We love Queen Bee. We know she turns it and she does all the things. I have to say she's inspired me in ways that I can't even recall.
I mean, Beyonce just goes without saying.
Yeah, it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah. All right. Next question for Mila. Nora or Robin, do you have a question?
I
don't really have a question, but I just wanted to say something, I guess, if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm just really happy to see another trans woman just doing well in the world. It just makes me feel very hopeful. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. And yes, I just want you to know that it is a better time than it has been in the past and before. So, you know, really count the stars that are there for the things that are shifting and changing, and even having the conversation now and the narrative is so different from, you know, the tipping point. And even 10 years ago, no one was talking about trans issues or trans women. And I'm so happy to see that. So thank you for that.
And always remember that you have your family here with you, and, you know, we're along with you on the journey. Your journey is never alone, for sure.
Yeah.
More
I think
questions?
Cameron had a question.
Cameron, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've done a lot of theater, a lot of entertainment work, a lot of modeling, TV. Do you have any interesting behind the scenes or set anecdotes that you'd like to share with us, maybe?
As far as how to maintain or to be, or in what context, or like experiences or mishaps?
Maybe just like it could be an experience or mishap, but just anything of note that you think maybe is like fun to share, or even a cautionary tale if you have.
Yeah, so I will tell you this: when you're filming and you're working on sets, the most difficult thing is the game is called hurry up and wait. And a lot of people don't know this, but when you're on set, you'll be on set for hours before you're used or before they call you and you're actually filming. And that can be one of the most difficult things. I did a shoot for something and I think my call time was 3 p.m. I promise you, I was not in front of the camera until 11 p.m. So I waited so many hours and you get bored and you're like finding things to do. And could be a time to like work on text, work on lines, read books, that's kind of the weird thing about being on camera and doing things on sets. And also the food and the eating, because that can be tricky. If you're on a set that has a very good show budget, they will feed you very well and you will be very excited. If you happen to land a contract doing that show every day, you might be eating a lot of good food all the time and you have to really be disciplined to maybe not eat some things that you want to see and eat all the time, because they always have that as an access. So I've had a lot of friends we always talk about like craft services and the food that they offer. And you're just like, it's very different from not having the budget to have food where you don't have anything to eat and you're starving all day versus like, okay, there's too much food and I need to like have a discipline. So yeah, the disciplines that you can find in between are super important for your own self-work. That's my advice.
Maybe they should, if they're like a big budget, they should have like a Peloton in your trailer or something.
It seriously could be like,
you
yeah,
want.
you can eat whatever you want, but they've got someone to give you a fitness instruction.
All right. Do we have more questions for Mila?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Robin.
So I have a trans girlfriend and her parents aren't accepting. Is there any way I can like support her better other than just being there?
You're doing so much by being there. Listening, I think, is a wonderful thing. It's tricky because I'm really aware of how you can impose on other people's space and the things that they might have to deal with the people that are not necessarily your family. But I think when she brings things to you, I mean, I honestly think listening and comforting her and making the space that you have with her really safe, just the care and someone listening goes a long way, especially as a trans person. That shows solidarity. And, if there is a time where you can do something more hands-on, absolutely. But I think most importantly, it's you just showing up and listening. I don't know if she's living, what the arrangement is. Is she still living with family? Is that the case? What does it look like for life after that? But yeah, listening. And I think just making safe space around her when you can be together.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and
You're
Robin,
welcome.
you can totally invite your girlfriend here too. And this is also a safe, supporting space.
Her family's very conservative, so I don't think let her.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions for Mila? I have a question.
Yeah.
You talked about how you're tempted by the food on set. Do you have like a guilty pleasure food?
Absolutely. Oh, I am the queen of French fries and chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, perfect. That's such a good combination.
And I grew up in the South. I'm from Georgia, so I love a sweet tea. Sweet tea, cookies, and French fries.
Now,
those are my favorites.
Do you make your own sweet tea, or what's your sweet tea?
I do. I don't normally. I don't. But I am a connoisseur of tea, and I worked for a tea company for a few years where I learned all the ins and outs and different styles of tea. So I have a deep appreciation for, oolongs and black teas and green teas. Matcha is like one of my favorites. But I don't really make it. I found that even living in New York City, there are a lot of places that actually offer sweet tea. And I've learned to discover those places. I went to dinner last night and had the most amazing chocolate chip cookies ever at this hotel. And it was so good. I think I would like to do a dessert book or something because I love desserts and pastries. And I think at some point in my career, Mila's favorite cookies and desserts and pastries may happen.
I'm here for it, and I will definitely be buying that book.
Yay! It'll be my Amy Sedaris moment. I know she likes to make books on how to make things. I love to taste and try things and explore different places that have the stuff I like.
Ooh, good. Well, thanks for sharing that. Well, this was the quickest 30 minutes I've ever experienced. It was so fun talking to you.
Yes.
And we don't be a stranger to Camp Lightbulb. We'll see you in LA when you're here.
Of course.
So thank you so much.
I'm gonna see that Rainbow Squad. I'm excited.
Yes, the Rainbow Squad will be there. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are going to go on to our variety show. So we bid you farewell. And
thank you, everyone.
And we will be listening to your music nonstop.
Mwah. I'll see you later.
Bye, Mila.
Okay, bye.